slash, tangent at the end. But, whatever you want to bring
Yeah.
up gaming related. But without much ado, we are live with another episode of BS Busters. I'm joined by one of our usual suspects, Kenoshi. Kenoshi, introduce yourself.
No shit, Bob Nito. Glad to be here on another one of these BS Busters, and it sounds like you're coming down with something.
No, it's just I've had to talk to a lot of people,
Oh,
repeating the same thing over and over again, so losing my voice. Um, because basically, the site that where I'm basically opening up a new location, we also
yeah.
have renovations going on, so I have to speak loudly in order to be heard. And I've just had to
Oh,
continuously use my voice for like the last 2 weeks. It's not consecutively, it's like 4 days, but it's just 4 days for me using my voice consistently in loud bursts for like 5 hours at a stretch. So
yeah.
my voice is now saying, fuck it. Fuck it. Anyway, um, so we have some interesting topics for tonight. We've got Golden Sun might be back. Recently got some information that Camelot Software, which is the studio, they were acquired by Nintendo, so they're a first party studio that made Golden Sun 1 and Golden Sun 2 and Golden Sun 3, aka Dark Dawn, which wasn't very good. I think that game bombed because they released it towards the end of the DS's life cycle.
Yeah.
They sent that game out to die, and it had very little marketing, which was just like why would you do that? Um,
It wasn't very good either.
I mean, I wouldn't say it wasn't. It wasn't terrible. Like it, like I didn't feel offended playing it. It wasn't. It wasn't bad like Final Fantasy 13, but um, like the problem with the game is that there were parts of the game that were too cryptic and like the characterization. Like I personally, if it was up to me and I was in charge of the design of that game, instead of doing a direct sequel, like a time jump and a sequel to with the same characters you had in Golden Sun 1 and 2, I would have done either a prequel like that was during the golden age of alchemy and synergy, or I would have done like 500 years in the future where how has life changed, that type of thing, with the
Yeah.
reintroduction of synergy and stuff like that. I wouldn't have done like, oh, we're just gonna bring back some of the same characters, just older. It's like, okay. They gave Garrett a mustache. That was cool. I'm like, okay. It's not really great. I mean, and and also it doesn't help that that game ends on a cliffhanger because they wanted to do two games, and I'm like, why would you do that? Like, why didn't instead of a franchise that had been dormant for a very long time, why didn't you just focus on making one really good game?
Yeah.
But whatever. But anyway, um, as I was saying, yeah, but they might be bringing back Golden Sun. I don't know what form it'll take. It could be a compilation of all three games, which would be nice because the cool thing about Golden Sun 1 and 2 is that if you beat the first game, you would get a code at the end of the game, and you could save your file, and you could either use that code and input it into the second game and carry over like a lot of content and progress into the second game, or you could just use a link cable and transfer your game over. Now it would be cool if they re-released those two games and the third game too, because you got to include it, and you just didn't have to do that. Like it was just automatic. That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Or they could be doing a new Golden Sun, which I would also like. So either way, it would be interesting. What are your thoughts on this? Yay, nay, don't care.
I never played the Golden Sun games. I have them. I think I have both of them on the Wii U when they were available.
Hmm.
Um, actually, I think I only have the first one. I don't think I have the second. But in any case, I mean, I like how I played it, played of it when I played it, but I haven't really, I didn't really get into them. I might download the emulate versions, at least the first one for the GBA.
All right.
Check those games out because I know people like them. At least the first two. I hear good things about them, but yeah, hopefully they get re-released at some point. You know, either as like a hopefully it's not relegated to the Nintendo network, but maybe released as like a HD collection or something like that. I don't know. That'd be pretty cool.
All right. Okay. Um, well, I'm actually someone who loved Golden Sun back in the day. The first game and the second game had them for the Game Boy Advance. Actually, I still have them for the Game Boy Advance. Um, the original copy that I had, I gave to a girl that was a friend of mine in high school because her parents were one of those, we aren't going to let our children play video games. And she had to play RPGs and read fantasy stories like almost like she was sneaking porn, like the way it was.
Yeah.
And so I
Yes.
basically, no, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, I just think when it came to video games and stuff back in the day, it's just as somebody as somebody I am acquainted with. You always put it like, the reason all our folks don't like the stuff that the younger folks are doing is simply because they didn't have it when they were a kid, so they don't really understand it.
Yeah, that could be the case. Just for me, like I said, I gave my original copy to a friend of mine, and I was like, she's a friend and she's cool, and I'm gonna cuz we were friends, and like she got me into the Wheel of Time series, and I got her into the Ellie Modesitt book series, and it was like just one of the things that we had a lot of shared interests. We talked about all types of cool stuff, and we were just good friends. And I gave her that copy. Then I bought another one because I was like, yeah, I like this game, but I gave her a copy, so I'll get another one. And then I got Golden Sun 2, which initially I didn't like because in Golden Sun 2 you play as Felix, and you play as you play as the villains you were chasing down the entire time in the first game. And I'm like, these sons of bitches. Um,
Yeah.
and you figure out, like, the second game, you kind of figure, okay, this is what they're going for. I still, once the two groups meet up, I still stick with my group from the first game because I like them more than Felix. Because I'm like, yeah, this guy's kind of an asshole. Like, I get what they're trying to go for, but this guy never explains he never explains his issues. Like he never explains why he's doing what he's doing. So it just comes across as he's just being an asshole, but there's actually a method behind it. And that kind of bothered me. Um, but I get what they were I get what they were going for. It just wasn't very well executed, like so many things in some games. But anyway, uh, what do you think?
Uh, I don't really have much thoughts.
All right, okay then. So anyway, yeah, Golden Sun. Looking forward to it. If this is true, it could just be some bullshit. I don't know, but if it's true, I'm totally down for it because I like Golden Sun. It's one of my favorite games, and I want it to. I want to play it again, but without
Yeah, I'm
having to
sure
do a
it's.
whole bunch of bullshit. You know.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a bunch of. I'm sure it's. Even if you wanted a physical copy, I'm sure it's pretty expensive on
Well,
eBay.
I could look it up right now. Golden
Unless you can
Sun.
get a repo cart.
I don't think they
But
do repro carts for Game Boy Advances. Golden Sun for sale. No, it's like $18.
oh, okay, okay.
You can get both
So yeah.
games for like $20. Yeah, it's cheap, man. It's cheap.
Oh, okay.
It's not an expensive game. I'm guessing if you want to get it in, like you could get both games for under $100 if you wanted them like complete in box. Um, it might go up, but if you just want to play the games, you can get it for like $20 plus shipping and
Okay.
handling
So
25. It's not. Oh my
it's
god.
not a rare. It's not rare like Earthbound or.
No, no, no. There are rare games for the Game Boy Advance, like the um uh shit the Way Forward game Sigma Star Saga is rare because it was a limited run. There weren't a lot of copies made. That's rare. Shantae for the Game Boy Color is rare, but you know, that's just because it came out towards the end of the life cycle of that handheld, and there just weren't a lot of copies made. Even though the Game Boy Advance like sold, I want to say like 50 million, 60 million 50 million units. Here, let me look it up. GBA lifetime sales. No, I lied. It sold 80 million units. A little bit over 80 million, like 81.51. So I don't know. I don't know why they killed that console, that handheld so early. It had another 2 or 3 years left in it, and it was,
GBA.
yeah, the GBA. The GBA was like, because like towards the end, like the last 2 years of the GBA's life, there were some really good games coming out for that handheld. Like really
Yeah, you're right.
advanced games coming out for the handheld, and I'm like, man, they could push this hardware so much further, and they didn't. They killed it
Yeah,
for the
you're.
DS.
You're right. That the DS did come out pretty quickly compared to. It's like the GBA didn't really have that. I mean, they had like two iterations. They had the GBA SP, and then they had the GBA Micro, which basically came out like basically when the GBA was dead. It was like
Yeah, it was like a
right on the
stunt.
heels of the DS.
It was like a stunt gaming device.
Yeah, it didn't make much sense. The screen was really small. It's just like, oh, who wants this?
Yeah, I mean,
Did they ever explain why they made it?
no.
There ain't.
You know what I think? I think they probably had done so much R&D to get it small enough, and they were like, let's just release it and see what happens.
Yeah.
I mean, Nintendo does weird shit like that sometimes. Where it's just like, why? Why? But they did
Yeah.
it, so whatever. Anyway, my yeah, the Game Boy Advance is one of my favorite. Like everyone's like they love the DS and the 3DS and all that shit, but my favorite Nintendo handheld is, aside from the DS, which is great, but my favorite like traditional Nintendo handheld with no gimmicks is the Game Boy Advance, because the Game Boy Advance did something that no other Nintendo handheld has done, and it did it naturally without any weird ass MacGuffins. Okay, the Game Boy
Yeah.
Advance was the most backwards compatible handheld that Nintendo ever made. Okay,
Oh, yeah. Yep.
you could play Game Boy Color games. You could play, well, also the DS, but You could play Game Boy Color games. You could play OG Game Boy games. You had the e-reader. You could add in there. Like basically, the Game Boy Advance and the DS were just amazing handhelds. And Nintendo
Mm.
hasn't kept that same ethos, which bothers me. But
Yeah.
we aren't here to talk about how Nintendo's been kind of fucking up uh, to some people. We're here to talk about the next topic, which is let me go to the
Well,
John
we talked
Romero.
about.
Sorry, GTA Plus. GTA Plus was announced, came out, and it landed with all of the aplomb and power of a wet fart.
Yeah. Nobody
Um,
cared.
well, I mean, I think some people use it because it's kind of useful. It's like, oh, well, instead of me spending a whole bunch of money on shark cards in order to keep up with my friends, I just buy GTA Plus for like 2 months, and I can hang out with my friends. Like like I can get the little bennies, and then you can keep the stuff. So basically, you instead of spending $50 to get the amount of shark cards you need in order to buy the stuff that you need in order to do the extra content on GTA Online, you can just spend $20 and get the same amount, or 30 or whatever. So yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, that's weird. But ultimately, a lot of people just don't care.
Yeah, that's the thing about the GTA Online. It just seemed like they were. It just seemed like they were. It just existed to gouge people out for money.
Yeah, they do.
It's a. That's why we're probably not going to see a GTA 6 for the next 10 years.
Oh, we'll eventually see a GTA 6, but it's gonna be some shit. I don't have any
Yeah.
evidence of this. This is just me making a supposition. But I have the shaking suspicion that it's gonna be shit.
Yeah.
And the reason I think that GTA 6 is gonna be shit is because a lot of the people who made GTA Fun don't work at Rockstar anymore. And
Yeah.
the GTA franchise has gotten consistently more underwhelming since 4. Like GTA 4's story, everyone's like, "Oh, it's so deep." I'm like, "It's boring." GTA 5 is underwhelming. Like it's like the gameplay, the story is kind of hit or miss, but the actual gameplay is underwhelming in that game. Like driving, it does not feel fun. Um, like when you're getting chased by the police, it's not fun. Shooting people is not fun. I know people like to play that game on the GTA Online, but I'm just looking at it from the single player. Other aspects of the game may be fun, but everything else, I'm like, I'm not feeling it.
Yeah. If it's anything like GTA 4's online, at least the controls. Oh, that was terrible.
What?
Remember that sad excuse for an online? Remember GTA 4's online? How awful it was.
Yeah, but I mean, I am going to say there is one good thing about GTA 4's online. They didn't charge you for it. It was free. It was basically just some bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah. It was. It was interesting. It was a mess. That's the best way I could describe it.
Yeah, but you could have fun with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you certainly have fun with it.
I mean, it wasn't good, but you could have fun. I mean, because I remember playing GTA. I remember playing GTA 4's online, and it wasn't great. I'm not gonna say it was. It wasn't like, oh my god, this is gonna change my life, but it was basically multiplayer GTA, and you could like
Yep.
have little like fake heists, and it was kind of stupid, but also kind of fun. And then then they released. Then they took it a step further to where. Then they monetized it in GTA 5, and it's like this isn't even fun anymore.
Yeah.
You know, like I would rather have a mediocre online, but I can still have fun with it, than a awesome um a better online, a slightly better online that is just completely just like you know monetized to death. Like they
Mm.
charge you rent in GTA Online. Like if you own an apartment, you pay rent for your apartment
Yeah.
in
That's
a video
crazy.
game.
Yeah, they're trying to squeeze people for money. That's for sure. Rockstar must be hurting these days. They're just not the same as they used to be.
Yeah, they got to make that money though. You know what the sad thing is? The really sad thing? The thing that makes me just hate myself? I just
Yeah.
said all this
Yeah.
shit that I hate about GTA 6 and I'm probably going to buy
Yeah.
it. I'm like, fuck this game. Fuck Rockstar. I'm probably going to buy it. I feel so bad. I'm not going to buy it at launch. I'm going to wait until the reviews come out and everything like that, but probably going to buy it. Probably gonna buy it. I feel so bad. Not like hate myself bad, just like I can't believe this. But what are your thoughts on it? Do you think GTA Online? I mean, do you think GTA? Do you think GTA Plus was a good idea, bad idea? Don't care.
GTA Plus was what was it? Pretty much a subscription fee to get extra goodies and whatnot. I mean, if GTA Online's your crack and you just need a better way to get all that stuff without
You need your
making your wife or
fix.
husband mad because you keep spending money on shark cards, then you know
Or if you're a
have at
single
it, I
person,
guess.
and
Or
you
if
can
you're a
spend
single
ten
person.
dollars a month or $50 a month. You know, the lower price might be if you're really playing a lot of GTA 5.
Yeah, I just don't see the point if you don't play a lot of GTA 5.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
there are people at work I know that
that's their shit.
that yeah I used to work with. They're like, oh man, I can't wait to go home and play GTA Online. It's like, oh okay,
All right, knock
wow.
yourself out, dude. Or a lady, whatever your gender is.
Every man and woman is out for their self interest. Just
Hey, here's what I'll say. The coolest. Here's what I'll say about GTA Online. I don't like playing the game competitively, but the role playing servers are very fun.
yeah,
The role playing servers are fun, but not playing them. Watching people play the role playing server is fun.
yeah,
Like watching Twitch plays of people doing the role playing server. It's like, oh, this is actually kind of fun. I would never want to do it because I'm crazy
yeah,
and I don't feel the like I don't want to sit there and do that type of stuff. But I know there are people who would, so I'm not gonna be like, oh no, I'd never. But me personally, I wouldn't want to do it. But sorry. So, what do you think about it?
um. I think they just need to entice people maybe more if it's not doing very well. Uh,
Maybe make better
uh,
content. Maybe release
make
some
better
single
content.
player content to get people to buy more of the shit.
Yeah,
All right. Okay. With that being said, I guess we can move on to the next topic. I think we've exhausted GTA Plus's underwhelming. John Romero, one of the legendary Western developers who uh, created some of the most iconic first-person shooters of all time. Level designers: John Romero, American McGee. Even though he's kind of a piece of shit, Randy,
Pitchford?
Randy Pitchford, John Karnak. You know, like Cliff Blazinski. Yeah, even Cliff Blazinski. All these people kind of came out of that id Software machine back in the day. So John Romero is apparently working with a AAA publisher to release a new first-person shooter.
Well, it's good.
Yeah, hopefully, what I would really like is a new Daikatana, but done better.
Yeah.
I know people get mad when I say that. How dare you? It's like, if you don't know what they were going for in Daikatana, like if you were going into Daikatana thinking this is just going to be a standard first person shooter, then you didn't understand what they were going for. But the secret of Daikatana is this: Daikatana is actually supposed to be a first person RPG.
Oh,
Yeah,
this didn't go over well, huh?
nope. Because what happened was that it was supposed to come out in like 2 or 3 years, and every time a new engine would come out, they would scrap what they couldn't take over to the new engine and start from scratch. With so let's say they had 60% of the game done, and then a new engine came out, they would scrap half of that and then start from scratch with the 30%. Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So yeah, it never, and they just kept on doing it. Um, and plus, like I said, people went into it thinking that it was going to be this triple A. It was going to be a new first-person shooter, and you look at Daikatana, you think, "Oh, this is a first-person shooter," but it isn't. It's a first-person RPG. What John Romero was actually and his team were actually trying to do over there, they were actually doing what would have been uh, like the first person RPG. It would have been like a precursor to something like Deus Ex.
Yeah.
But because like they kept on scrapping everything to move to the next engine, which, the same shit that you shouldn't do in game design now was a problem back then.
Yeah. Even though things looked simpler back then, it was actually a lot of the stuff was more difficult.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't even say more difficult. I would just say that, a lot of, like, even though a lot of tools have come through to make game design easier, a lot of the same issues still exist. It hasn't
Yeah.
changed that much. Like, for example, hey, if you have an engine you're really familiar with, maybe you should stick with that engine instead of scrapping all your shit and starting a new engine.
Yeah.
Just saying. Just, just, just just FYI for your information. Maybe don't do that.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's any of the original people gonna be helping him make the game, or is it just him leading it? A team of a team of strangers.
I mean, it might be just him, like leading people, but I mean, if you have like John Romero, uh, has been like the dude has been in charge of so much stuff that like you know You know,
Any
it's like,
word on the publisher of this game?
here, let me look it up. PC gaming, PC gamer, John Romero, John Romero. Let's see here. Okay, so Romero Games is expanding to support development of the new project, and id Software co-founder John Romero, one of the key figures behind Wolfenstein 3D, Doom, and Quake, is making a new FPS. Romero announced the new project on Twitter, calling it a new dawn for his studio, Romero Games. We are 100% focused on first-person shooters, the foundation that built our careers, our studio, and a genre. The Romero Games front page now says in a message laid over top a huge-ass skull, "Our current project is an all-new FPS with an original new IP. Romero Games is working with a major publisher using state-of-the-art technology, Unreal Engine 5. It's probably epic."
Yeah.
As soon as he said Unreal Engine 5, it's
Yeah.
probably epic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably epic. I mean, that's a smart move for Epic. Like, get a John
Yeah.
Romero developed first-person shooter.
So it'll be an Epic store exclusive for a while.
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, to be honest with you, even though I'm reporting this, I'm not a huge FPS fan. Like, I get one FPS every 2 or 3 years, and I play the ever-loving shit out of it, and then I'm good for the next 2 or 3 years. Like, I don't need another one for a while, because I'm not,
Yeah.
like, enamored with first-person shooters. I know people who are. I am not one of them.
Yeah.
But, so what are your thoughts? Yay or nay? And are there any legendary developers that you wish were like, man, I wish this guy or girl or person would come back and do something cool?
Um. Yeah. Definitely. People have been. You had the two Doom games come out; those were well received. It just become nice to see something else people like when it comes to that particular genre come back
Duke
in a big
Nukem.
way. Yeah, yeah,
Duke
Duke
Duke.
Nukem. Yeah,
Could it be? I came here to kick ass and chew bubble gum, and I'm all out of gum.
oh,
Yeah.
I aside from they're already making the guy who made Suikoden is already making a spiritual successor to that game.
Yes.
It'd be kind of cool if Square Enix contracted Monolith Soft to make a like a traditional Final Fantasy game.
Yeah.
That could be interesting.
I would love for Hironobu Sakaguchi to make a traditional old school style Final Fantasy game. I mean, obviously, it wouldn't be called Final Fantasy, but like, I would like for a publisher to go to Miss Walker and be like, "Look, we're going to give you a good budget so that you can make a legally distinct Final Fantasy game that totally shits on what Square Enix has been doing lately."
Yeah,
It's like, oh, this is how it's done. It's like, oh, a real Final Fantasy for once, and not whatever the fuck they've been doing over there at Square Enix. It's like, oh, and people keep on trying to spin it. Well, Final Fantasy's always been about trying new things. Bullshit.
yeah.
Y'all just fired the one dude who made your games, and now you all want to be like, well, actually, no, no. I hate that. I hate when people try to rewrite history after the fact because if the truth came out, it would look bad or make people ask questions they don't want them to ask. But anyway, are there any other people that you're like, man, they really? I want them to come back and make a game.
I like to see the original people come back and make an Ape Escape game.
That'd be good.
Yeah, that'd be kind of nice.
I mean, hell.
One of the few games I went out of my way to 100%. I
Yeah,
don't usually complete. I'm not a completionist, but that was a game. That was one of the few games I completed.
yeah, I totally get that. I like Ape Escape. Ape Escape. The only downside of the first Ape Escape was that it was is that it like Sony hadn't yet ripped off Nintendo's analog control stick,
Yeah,
so you had to use that fucking D pad, and for a 3D game, a D pad isn't optimal. If you get my drift,
that's true. Nope.
like playing that game with a D pad's like, no.
Actually, if I recall, you actually needed the analog controller to play the game because it has a. You start up the game, there's a little symbol that says, in order for you to play, you have to play with the analog controller. It just doesn't.
No, you can
It,
play it without an analog control stick because when Ape Escape first came out, it was before Sony had done their Dual Shock with the two analog control sticks below the D pad and the square, triangle, X, and
uh,
circle buttons, but it was like it controlled like ass. It's like it was like playing Mario 64 on the DS.
yeah,
It was like, yeah, I'll go buy a new controller. It was like playing it was like playing those games on your Sega Genesis, the 3 button controller Sega Genesis, where it's like you really need a 6 button in order to really play this.
yeah,
That's what it was like. Because I
yeah,
remember, I remember going to a kiosk and playing the demo of that game at the kiosk back in the day. But it was like the demo unit had the Gen 1 PlayStation controller that didn't have the dual analog sticks, the Dual Shock. It was still the original, not the Dual Shock. I'm like, this is kind of shit. But having played it later with a dual analog stick, it plays so much better. I'm not gonna lie. Um, you know, one thing I kind of do
yeah.
like about the 3D age is that we got analog control sticks, which made gaming better.
Yeah.
You know, but uh, but yeah, I'd like to see that. I'd like to see the original people who worked on Chrono Trigger make a real sequel to it.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Like make a documentary about making it.
Yeah.
It's like Blues Brothers style. We're getting the band back together. We're on a mission from God.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Oh, we're gonna make Chrono Trigger 2. But isn't there a Chrono Trigger 2? Isn't it called Chrono Cross? Fuck that game. It's like we're making a real Chrono Trigger 2. But you'd have to get permission from Square Enix, and good luck with that shit.
Yeah.
But with that being said, let's move on to the next topic. Um, Next topic is our favorite RPGs not from the usual suspects. Um, RPGs that you're like, this is. I was expecting this to be a certain way, and it wasn't. You know, um, for example, most people are familiar with the Square Enix RPGs of Final Fantasy, or the SquareSoft RPGs of Final Fantasy. But what about the what about the other stuff? You know, what about the what about that really good stuff like you know,
Games that you went into hoping it was one thing and then turned out to be something else, or wasn't
n-
what you expected.
no, I was gonna say RPGs from not the usual suspects. Like you took a chance. Maybe you went to GameStop or someplace was having a sale and there was an RPG, like a developer or publisher you've never heard of, and you got it, and you're like, oh, this is surprisingly good. I was not expect this. This should have been trash, but it's actually good.
Mm.
I'm surprised. This should be terrible, but it is actually good.
I'll say for me at least, that was the first Dark Cloud game. 'Cause I never really heard of Level 5 at the time, and when you first turn it on, it looks like it's a PS2 game. It looked like an N64 game, but it was turned out to be a pretty good game.
I agree, but you know what gets you with that game is the opening.
Yeah,
The opening when you get that theme song and all that shit, and you're like, okay, wait a second, hold up, someone actually cared making this.
yeah.
Someone actually wanted to make this. There was love and attention put in this game.
There are parts of that song that, because I always mix these two songs up in my head, because there are parts of that opening song that sound like it sounds like Dooku, the Dooku Palace song in Majora's Mask.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that, or I could say and not see it. I can hear it, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's the thing that gets me. That's where I'm like, okay, I really do like. That's where I'm like, okay, I really do like. You know, I was like, level 5 is way better, and that's what got me into level 5 was Dark Cloud, and I like Dark Cloud so much I got Dark Cloud 2, which Dark Cloud 2 has a lot of good ideas, but the problem is that they don't mesh well together.
Yeah. Yeah, they wanted to do a lot. They put a lot on their plate. They couldn't quite they couldn't quite finish everything on their plate pertaining to a lot
Yeah.
of the elements that they put in that game.
Yeah, they had a lot of plates spinning, but some of them they couldn't maintain all of them.
Yeah.
That was kind of the flaw with that game. But then you get Dark Cloud 3, aka Rogue Galaxy, which is actually really good. Like everything that didn't work in Dark Cloud 2 works in Rogue Galaxy. Like all those different gameplay systems that you're like, this is terrible, work in
Yeah.
Dark Cloud in Rogue Galaxy. Like the invention aspect, the fishing, catching bugs. They don't have a mech sequence in the game, but I mean, like a lot of other stuff in the game is very much those systems very much carry over to Rogue Galaxy, but they work. So it's one of those things where I'm just like, okay, this isn't an issue of it doesn't work. This is an issue of these systems didn't mesh well together.
Yeah. Yeah, the thing that really turned me off is Dark Cloud 2, which, you'd figure it wouldn't was the mech
Well,
was the mech
yeah,
stuff. It's like,
because it was too much.
yeah, I don't like this. I don't like this.
Yeah, that should have been the best aspect. It's like, oh, well, okay, like what they should have done was basically be like, okay, Mia Maxwell is your more traditional gameplay character, whereas the other character, the inventor, whose name escapes me, he's weaker, but he makes up for that by having a mech, where the game would almost turn into a first person shooter at that point, or a third person shooter, or whatever. And instead they made the mech kind of a bitch. Like the mech was a bit like, in order for you to even get to the mech, you had to upgrade it. Then you had to do all this other shit. Then when it was running, you had to make sure it didn't overheat. It had health. It's like this is too much shit to go through.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and you needed to get past certain monsters, certain bosses, and it's just kind of like, ugh.
Yeah, it was just too much. Whereas, like I said, Rogue Galaxy 2, like everything that is in that game, and you're like, this is not working. Rogue Galaxy 2 does, but it works so much better. Like so much better. It's like, oh man, this is night and day.
Yeah, yeah. I still gotta play that game, but I've
Rogue
heard,
Galaxy.
yeah, yeah, I've heard good things about it. But
Yeah, if
I
you
just never got a chance to play it.
yeah, if you have a PS4, you can download it. Um, I
That's right. It was available on PS4.
I would recommend it. It's really good. Um, like I said, one of the best. It is hands down one of the best JRPGs I have. And it's like more of an action RPG because it's not turn based or anything, but it's really good. Like much better than it has any business being. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, this should be terrible. This should be a steaming pile of dog trash, but it's actually really good. I'm surprised. But that's my own personal opinion. Um, so I guess we can move on to the next. Um, oh wait, I didn't. I didn't do mine. My RPG that I'm like, this came from out of left field and I wasn't expecting it, and it was surprisingly good. Was Opuna. It like you look at it and you think this is going to be some kid friendly my first RPG. The story is surprisingly fucking dark. It's like, and yet the main character looks like a little kid. The main character is a little kid. It's you and your two siblings trying to save this weird planet. But it's so dark. It's like I wasn't expecting this, and it's on the Wii. I'm like, this should be terrible, and yet it's really good. Like I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah, we had some gems.
Yeah,
People, I
like,
often forget.
well, the thing is, people are like, oh, the Wii, it was only for kids. Like, there's some really good games on the Wii that people were sleeping on because they were Wii games. Like, oh well, it's a Wii game. It's on the Wii. It's like, you gotta go. It's like I won't. It's like saying you won't eat at a restaurant because like they're like a small little bistro thing going on. It's like they don't have a lot of seats or something. It's like if the food is good, you're gonna go in there and eat it. You know,
Yeah,
don't be put off by um, don't be put off by stuff like that. You know, because that's just ignorant.
yeah,
I know people are gonna get mad about that. How could you say that? Well, it is. I mean, if you were going out with someone and they said and you're like, man, I went to this ramen place and the food was amazing and it was really good, and they were like, yeah, I've seen it, but I didn't go there because the restaurant wasn't brand new. It's like, for real?
Yeah.
Like, you'd probably be like,
It,
what type of ignorant ass shit is this? Like,
yeah, people are really weird about entertainment.
it's like, oh, I can't do that. It's like, I'll try something. Now, if I try something once or twice and I don't like it, then I'm gonna be like, okay, I don't like this. But if you've never tried something, you're like, ah, it's terrible. Well, did you try it? No. Then calm down, dude. But, you know, that's my own personal opinion. Um, anything else you want to say before we move on to the final part of the the cast?
Yeah, no, that's it.
All right. Then I guess we can keep it moving. The final part of our cast is something that's near and dear to my heart. Uh, our unpopular opinion, aka hot takes, where we basically share an opinion that people might be like, I don't like when someone says this. So, do you want to go first or shall I?
Um, I'll go first. The PS Vita probably the PS Vita could have competed with the 3DS had they have one not used if Sony supported the console and probably not come out with an OLED panel out out of the gate. And one of the biggest things that kept me from buying the console were those proprietary cards, because I know the PSP had problems with
Piracy
piracy.
and hacking.
Yeah, hacking and piracy. Yeah, how they supported the console out the gate, um, it could have. I think it would have done pretty good. I personally thought the console was an interesting console, but again, there are just certain things that just keep me away from it. But there were games on it that looked interesting.
Yeah, I got a Vita TV because it was like they literally were like giving them away practically, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna get one because it was like $25. Um, and I'm not saying it was great because it wasn't, but I'm not saying it's a great little mini console, but it's for what it wasn't terrible. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You know, I think I agree with you. I think the real issue with that console, with that handheld, is that Sony just didn't support it.
yeah,
You know,
yeah, definitely. And they could have. It ended up becoming an indie machine. For whatever reason, they just stopped. They stopped supporting it. It's. I don't know if they just wanted to focus on the PS4 more or
I don't
what.
know. I don't know. What I do know is that the excuse that Sony made was, well, the reason it's not selling well is because of PCs. No, it was a laptop. It was smartphones.
Smartphone.
Which, I mean, like, here's how I know that is so much bullshit, because go take a look at Go freaking go to like you look at the Switch, and the Switch is basically a Super Vita.
Yeah.
Just like the Vita, you can hook it up to a TV. Just like the Vita, it has some issues, but overall, a lot of the Vita developers went over to the Switch, and their games are selling pretty well. But the difference is that Nintendo supports the Switch, whereas Sony, after a year, said this is hard, and they just stopped supporting
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, the Switch is basically the Vita done right, or at least, in
Done
terms
better.
of done better. Maybe not done right, but done better.
Yeah. The thing that got me was them having the nerve to go up and say, "Oh, well, it's smartphones." It's like, no, you didn't fucking support your device. That's like
Yeah.
someone saying, that's like someone like if you're a company, your products are like your children, and the company's like the parents. You don't support your children, and then your children become delinquents, and you blame other people because you didn't support your kids. It's like, well, the reason my kids are delinquent is because those people's kids over there uh, are playing basketball. It's like, no, you're a shitty parent, you know? But that's my own
Yep.
personal opinion. I could be wrong. So, do you have anything else you want to add before I give mine and then we wrap things up?
No, no, I'm good.
All right. Mine is pretty simple. Pretty not very not very insane. I just don't really like. I'm just gonna say this right now. My unpopular opinion is this: I'm tired of people like not thinking critically. It's just kind of
Yeah.
annoying. It's like, hey,
Yeah.
I'm not saying you're always gonna think critically, but in general, try to think critically about some stuff.
Yeah.
I know it's hard, but try.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially when it comes to things that happen in this industry. I mean, people are starting to realize the BS now with the last few years with uh, big high profile games coming out busted. But, for a while, it's just like people just bought busted games every year. Just
Yeah, yeah.
like, oh, they'll fix it.
They'll fix it later. It's like, why? Like, why should I have to accept broken stuff? Because no one else accepts that. Like, you wouldn't buy a burger and then be like, well, we'll add the rest of the toppings later on. It's like, no, I want my shit done right now. That's what you're charging me for. you know. And I would say to those who get angry, here's what I'm going to say. Everyone, no product is perfect, and therefore, every product is imperfect, so every product can be critiqued. There's no perfect product, okay? There's no perfect company that makes a perfect product. So every company, no matter who they are, can be critiqued and criticized. And they should be critiqued and criticized. All right? Because when they're critiqued and criticized, um, they tend to get better. Not all the time, but a lot of times they do. You know,
Yeah.
But anyway, that's the end of the podcast. Anything you want to pimp out, Kenoshi?
Project Console, Tuesday 7:30. Um, probably gonna take a break, because he said he wouldn't be able to make it on August 8th.
Yeah,
For a few
basically,
weeks. So
yeah, my schedule's changing after August 8th. Like I will not for 2 weeks I'm going to be out. And I don't know what the internet is going to be like where I'm going to be at, so I don't want to be like, well, I can be there. However, I'll be back August 21st that week. So, if you have a podcast that Tuesday, um, I'll be there for that one. All right?
yeah, yeah. So I'll probably just go on hiatus for a couple of weeks.
Okay.
So
Anyway, that's the end of the cast. Rate, comment, share, subscribe. Um, anyway, peace.